What do you think is driving the legislative process? Is it a political one, an emotional one?
I think fundamentally it's a political process, and I think really what's driving it is a lack of understanding of food production nowadays. We're increasingly an urban society in Europe, and people don't connect with farming in the way that they probably did 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Is there anything that you've learnt that's new today seeing Phil's farm?
It's been interesting to hear the views of a farmer on the potential legislation. A lot of what we've heard so far has been from politicians, from lobbying groups, but to actually see how things might work out in practice for a commercial farmer has been interesting.
A year ago, media was very anti-pesticides. I think there's a shift into understanding with the increase in food prices that pesticides have a role. Do you see any change in the way the media is dealing with this issue? Or?
I think there has been some change. I mean, certainly in the farming press, we're coming at it very much from the farmer's viewpoint and how it's going to affect their business. I think in the more mainstream press, there is a recognition that this poses quite a serious threat to the farming industry, and set that against the background of increasing fuel prices, the food v fuel debate, and that sort of thing. So yes, I think there is a recognition that perhaps organic farming isn't the be all and end all, and that we've got to find a balance between the two farming systems.
Now, what are farmers actually saying to you when they find out what this legislation will do to their business?
I think they're very worried. I mean, I suppose awareness of the legislation has been building over the last 6 months or so, and now we're getting to the stage. We've had various reports, or we've had 2 reports, the PSD in the UK and an ADAS report, and we're actually starting to see what groups of chemicals and the extent of what chemicals will be affected, and they're starting to look at how that might affect their businesses, and it's looking really serious, and I think they're beginning to acknowledge that, and at the moment they want answers to the questions: which chemicals are going to go, which are we going to keep, what does that actually mean for my business?
Are the farmers clear about which products are going to go, or is it still quite unclear?
They're not clear at the moment, no, and there are various scenarios as we understand it, and it's a case of following the political process through, but no, they're certainly not clear, and they are asking questions about what might be happening in the future.
Did you learn anything new today?
I think what I was interested in today was how we got to this point, how farmers were being threatened with legislation that appears to be so unfriendly to them, how that appears to have taken them somewhat by surprise, and so I was interested more in what you brought from Brussels than in what I heard in Yorkshire, which I already knew about, and that was the background to how this legislation has been quietly accumulating force over some years.
What do you think, as part of the press call, what do you think is driving the agenda in the press on this subject?
I don't think in the mainstream press it hasn't had a lot of attention, to be honest. I mean, it was news to me when I discovered that this legislation had been hanging around in the woodwork for several years, and I only discovered that a couple of months ago. I guess that from the mainstream press point of view, there isn't an agenda yet. We're only just becoming aware that this is a real problem. We tend with Europe to catch glimpses of things and assume they'll be sorted out before they actually affect us, and here's a case where apparently it's not been.
Okay, so what's the main message that you took away from today that you want to pass on to your readership?
I think I want to make them aware that this isn't a scare story, that the farmers and the agricultural chemical suppliers are apparently drawing our attention to a genuine risk of a genuinely devastating cut in productivity if this legislation takes effect as proposed.